How completed, we can just write now. We have integrated Redux Toolkit. We have created our store. So then we have completed our navigation. Then what we have done, we have completed our Firebase setup, right? So the next thing is we need an input. As we are doing email password authentication, we need to input on home screen, right, for email and password. For that one, what we can do, we can just install a library called Formik for handling forms. For Formik React Native, we can just install the library. So what we can do here, we can just add the library React Native yarn add React Native, Formik. So we can just install this library. Now the next thing is what we need a form for creating the for entering the email and password, right? So this we can create here. We can just copy this one from here on the home screen or authentication screen, log screen, and just paste it here. Then text input, we can just add it here. We are already added, button is already added. We can just remove this one. So inside this login screen text, what we can do, we can just copy this code. So we can just copy this code here, paste it here. So we need email and initial value will be password, right? So we can just have an initial password, right? So there will be a text input. So we have added text input on val. So also we can just have a style color. Style, we can just give a border color black. Then border width, we can just have a border width equal to 1. Now if I just refresh, let's see what's happened. Yes, so we have a login email screen where we can just add this width equal to 200. Now if I just refresh, let's see, width should increase. Yes, we have a width. Then what we can do, we can just wrap all this inside Formik. Okay, now we can just remove this button, and this we can just make handle submit. Also we can just create handle submit method here. We can just create a const handle submit method here. Okay, then we can just refresh right now. Let's see what happened. Except but single children, right? Oh yes, so it should be Formik here. Yes, there should be, this thing should be copied into here, and we can just have a fragment here. Fine. Now if I just refresh, everything should work as expected. Yes, here you can see login screen is there, register and button is there. We can just have a margin top to the buttons, margin top 15. Okay, now if I refresh, let's see, here is the button. Okay, we can just increment the input size into 250. Also we can just create a style sheet here for the text input, const style sheet dot create, and then we can just have this input container. Okay, then input container, we can just copy all this style, paste it here. Then we can have style dot input container. Okay, now paste it here. We can just replicate this for password as well. Here we can just change it password value dot password. Also we can just give a separation between here, this two input. We can just have a 20 separation. Then if I refresh, everything should work. Style sheet is not defined. We can just import the style sheet from React Native. We can just import the style sheet. Yes, so we have a email and password, so we can just have a placeholder to identify. Placeholder enter email or enter email. Here what we can do, we can just have enter password. Also we can just give a this should be height not width. We can just reload the function once more. Yes, enter email is there, enter password is there. We can just make this button. Yes, fine. Now the next thing is what we are going to do on the register screen. Also we are going to replicate the same. So what we can do, we can just copy our Formik into register screen. Fine. In the login screen, what we can just paste, we can just copy all this Formik code into register screen, right? So we can just paste it here, and we don't want two button here. We can just press this button to here, right? Now if I refresh, let's see, go to the register screen. Yes, this text input should be imported. We can just import the text input. Now if I refresh, let's see, everything is coming perfectly. We can just refresh, go to the register screen. Style is not defined. Also we need to copy the style which we have added for the container, right? So we can just copy this style as well into the register screen. Also we can import the style sheet from React Native and refresh once more. We can check. Yes, just go to the register screen. Here you can see email and password. This is register screen. If I click here, enter email and password. Now the container, we can have a padding, right? Padding 10. Now if I just check here, you can see in the register screen, you can see there is a padding. Also same thing we can do for login screen, padding. Now you can see on the login screen also, we can just type the email. Here you can see email is coming, and password also we can just have here. Also we can just make security text input true, security for the password. For register screen as well, we can just add this security text entry so that it will make as password. We can just refresh, open the application once more. Now if I just type here, you can see it make a password. Here it will be email ID. So we have completed two form for login and registration. Fine. I mean login screen and register screen, right? So whenever we submit this value, we need to get these values, right? For that one, what we can do, we can just create a handle submit method, and here we can access the values. Okay, here we can access the values and just make on submit call that method. Okay, now what we need, we can just console what are the values are coming, values. Okay, now on the on press button, on press, what we are calling handle submit, which is coming from Formik, not this handle press. If you have a doubt, we can just make this handle submit press and just pass this here handle submit press. So on submit button, what we are calling handle submit will trigger on submit will trigger handle submit press. Now we can just check whether it is working properly. We can just reload this function. Here I am going to type I am Shimil at the rate. Okay, then password I'm just typing pass123. Then I'm just clicking. Here you can see values are printing, right? Now what we need the validation for email and password, right? For that one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the library yarn add yep. So yep will create validation, on time validation you can define on yep. So I'm just created a validation. Here I'm going to do what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create schema model, schema. So index, inside this one, what I'm going to do, I'm just copying this schema. Okay, so just copying the schema here. Yep. So here we can just give login schema or login or sign up schema. So we don't want password or email, so we can just have this, remove this one, or we can just make this as password. Okay, we can just remove this one, password is required, so we can make it secondary and just make a login or register schema. Okay, login or register schema. So we can use this in both. So we need an email and password, and maximum we can just have 2, and it's required, right? So we can just export this one, export const. Now what we need to import this here. So we can just import this schema. So import login schema from folder and just have schema. Okay, now what we need to pass the validation to the schema Formik. So you can just check validation schema is a yes. Here you can see one method, validation schema. I'm just passing on login register schema. Okay, now the next thing is we can just run the application once more, and I just try to press here. Here you can see this is not submitting. If you have, just you can pass the error method as well. Here you can pass showing error method. So you can just go here, error dot name test name. You can just pass this error. If error dot password is touch, you can just password. You can just have a text color red. You can just give a text, please provide password properly, provide password. Okay, now we can just make this as and not, or otherwise we can just make this as null. Okay, same for email. Okay, we can just show that wrong, so we can just make this email or error dot email. We can just print it here. Fine. Same for password. We can just print error dot password, errors dot password. Now let's see what's coming. So we can just go here, handle submit. We have to add errors as well. So we can just add errors and touched into the Formik callback. So we can just add errors and touched into the Formik callback. Now let's see what happened. We can just refresh it. Now if I just type here, it is showing required. Now if I'm just typing, I am similar or something, if the wrong email is typed, let's check what is happening. So invalid email is showing. If I didn't type password is too short, because we have already given a validation of password 2 string, right? Minimum 2 string and maximum 20. Now if I just type very long password, you can see the error is coming too long, right? So same logic we can use for registration screen as well, right? So what we can do, we can just import this schema into registration schema. Also we can just have validation schema should be supplied from login on register schema. We need to have errors and touched callback errors. If you just type, you can just get the suggestions. Now for email and password, we need to show the errors, right? So we can just copy this errors dot text color method. So we can just paste it here. Also for the password, we should have that errors, right? So we can just make this as error. Now if I just go into my screen, just refresh it, let's see what's happening. If I go to the registration screen, if I simply type, okay, we didn't add the submit button, right? So we can just go to the submit button. Here handle submit is added into here button on press, handle submit. Fine. Now on submit, which we have to call on submit press. You can just have on submit press, and then we can give the values. Now we can just comment the navigation, go back, and we can just console the values whatever we are receiving on submit press. Here is the values, just we can just console it, and then again I'm opening my debugger, just refreshing. If I go to the register, if I type something, it's showing required. I'm just typing my mail ID. If it is wrong, let's see. If I just type to here invalid email. Now if I just type @gmail.com and a proper password 123, and if I just check here, you can see values are printing. So we have completed our validation in our form. Same for what we can try login screen. We need a back button here, right? So we can just add a back button. Text, we can just have a back. Okay, and I'm going to create a style for back button, style dot back button. So we can just copy this one, paste it here, and then here what we can do, push an absolute top, we can just give 20, and also we can just give left 10. Now we can just check what is rendering, just refresh, go to the register. Here you can see back button, we can just have some more top padding, so we can just here, and also we can just give the color black, and the font weight we can just make it bold. Now let's see what's happening. Here you can see, go to the screen, here you can see the back button. If I click back button, I need to go back, right? So we can just have a on press on the text. Here we can just add the go back function, just navigation dot go back. Now if I refresh, let's see what's happening. Refresh it, go to the register. Here if I click back button, I can see the login screen again. If I click login, it will show the password, and even if I just type the proper password and the password, I can just see on the login submission. Here is, you can see the password and login is coming, password and email is coming, right? So the next thing is we need to pass this value into Firebase and get the token from Firebase. So that is the next step. We have completed all our form creation, form validation, everything we have completed, right? Now the next thing is we need to use Firebase methods. We are going to use all our Firebase method for authentication, right? So there are three methods which we are going to use. One is auth create user with email and password. This will be, we are using for register. Okay, and we are going to use for login, we are going to sign in with email and password. So this will be, we are going to use for our login. So this method you can check out our React Native Firebase documentation. If you go to the React Native Firebase documentation, inside here you can see usage. So authentication, usage, you can see different methods which they are mentioned. So what I am going to do, I am going to, yes, sign in anonymously with different sign in, create sign in method. This all are available here, right? So you can just refer after this one. The next thing what I am going to use, sign out, which is for removing the token. Okay, so sign out I am going to use. Now the first thing is what we are going to do, we are going to register an account with email and password, right? So we have a register screen where our values are printing here, right? So we can just register screen where our values are printing. We can just check out whether values are coming properly. Go to the register screen. Here I am just typing any Gmail account and just typing any password. Now if I click, I can see email and password here, right? The next thing is we need to use this method for creating an account in Firebase, right? Auth.create user with email and password. This I am going to do in my action. So here go to auth, but I am going to use import auth. If you can just check out the import, you can just see this is auth, and I am going to add it here, right? So we have imported our Firebase library in our action file or auth reducer file. The next thing is what we can do, we can just create a UDID. There will be a UDID for every user and a email ID for every user, right? So this will be our authentication. These are the two values which will be returning from Firebase. There will be a UID and an email. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an action using create async tongue, right? So we can just create export const register fire or register account. We can just create register account. So this will be a async method. What I am going to use, create async tongue method. Okay, now I need to import this one, right? Create async tongue. If you don't know about create async tongue, you can just refer the previous lecture. And here I am just going auth register. I need to give a name. then there will be a callback. So this I am going to make as async, and also this will have parameters, right? We have to pass email and password, right? We can just have email password. Now what we need to authenticate the user using this email and password, right? For that one, what I am going to do, just call the method auth. Then here you can see create the different method of authentication. This one I am going to use create user with email and password, and I'm just passing this method, and we should await because this is asynchronous request, so we are just awaiting. And then what I am going to do, I am going to fetch this detail, so we can just make let user is equal to await auth. I will have current user. Okay, so we can just method current user, and we can just check what is the values coming on current user, or we can just have a console here. We don't want to return any value, right? We can just have this work on. Now what I need to dispatch this action on my register screen, right? So what we can do, we can just go here, import register action from reducer auth reducer. Okay, now what I need, this is an action, right? So we have created create async action. This is an action, we have to dispatch an action, right? So for that one, what I need to use dispatch hook, which I am going to call on register screen. Here I am going to call. Then what I need to declare the dispatch on the hook, so you can just have our dispatch here. Now what I need, I am going to dispatch my method using this register account. Okay, register account. So values we have already know, email and password is coming, right? So we can just pass this value to email and password into register account method. Okay, now let's see what's happening. We can just go to the register screen. I'm just typing an email test @gmail.com, and I'm just typing a password. Okay, now if I just click register, here you can see it created an action. It is dispatching an action auth register. See, this auth register is coming from here. You can see auth register. So there will be three cases for every asynchronous action. One is pending, right? Then fulfilled, then there will be pending, fulfilled, rejected. So these are the different result of a asynchronous action, right? So here you can see pending is calling on the first time, then fulfilled is calling on the second time. Here you can see the fulfilled is calling. So the next thing is, if there is error come, it will call auth register rejected, right? Now if you look into the console, okay, here is the console, right? So if you look into the console, these are the values are getting from Firebase. You can see here is the email which I just entered and the user ID for that user, right? So we can just return this user detail. Here what I am going to do, just return this user detail, and here I am returning that user. Okay, now let's see what's happened. We can just reload it once more, go to the register screen. What I am going to do, register 45@gmail.com. Here I am just typing my password. Let's see, it's creating a user. Okay, now if I just click the register, here you can see it is first time it is pending. It is try to create an account. Now you can see this account is created here, test@gmail.com. Then a user ID is returned, right? Now if I just look into my account, here you can see this payload is coming here, right? So this payload is coming as phone number, email, and the password is coming, right? The next thing is what we have to do, we have to dispatch an action. For that one, what I am going to do, I am going to remove all the reducer I am going to remove. Okay, so inside this one I am going to add extra reducer, because we are using create async thing, right? So extra reducer will be a callback with the builder method. So builder, we can have a builder and we can add different cases. Okay, builder dot add cases. Add cases, what I am going to do here, register dot account pending. If it is pending, okay, what I am going to do, I am just making my state here as callback. Now what I am going to do here, what I am going to do, I'm just making one more field loading true, or loading make a initial value false. Now what I am going to do, if it is pending, then what I am going to do, I'm making this as true. So we can just have true. Then another case, if it is fulfilled, right? So we can just add another case, fulfilled. So if it is fulfilled, what we can do, we can have action as well. So we will receive the values, right? So we can just action. Okay, now loading will be false. And also if it is registered successfully, what we can do, we can make this flag as true, right? Digit auth is equal to true. Then we will be receiving the value email and UDID, right? So we can just set the value on state dot email dot actions dot, it is coming on payload, right? If you just check on the payload, it is coming. So if action dot payload dot, we can just call email, right? So we can just dot action dot payload email. Also same for UDID, we can just have state dot UID is equal to actions dot payload UID, right? So we have got all email and UID on the action payload. Here you can see when fulfilled is successful, here it is coming with the payload. Inside payload there will be UID and the email, right? So that email and UID we are storing on the reducer. The next thing is, if it is a failure case, what you have to do, failure or rejected case, what we can do, false. Authentication we can reset into false. Also email also we can just reset into true. This one also we can just make it to true. Okay, also if the initial case also, we can just make this as initial case, auth is equal to false. Fine. Now what we can do, we can just check what is happening in the behind the scene. Just open your console. You can just enlarge this console, and I am going to test with a sample account testify@gmail.com pass 34. Okay, now what I am going to do, sorry, this is not register screen, here is a register screen. You can just make a test 45@gmail.com. I am going to add the password 384. Now if I just click register, let's see what's happened. Here you can see, yeah, you can just make it yes, something is gone wrong, rejected, it is coming auth email, the email is already registered, right? So we have already registered. We can try with a new email, test 45 RT. Okay, just register with new account, pending. Yes, now it's fulfilled, it's success. On the auth reducer you can see it set auth equal to true, and the email is whatever we typed is set to true, and password is, here is the UDID which is coming from Firebase. Now if I just type once more, what will happen, this is already a login, right? So it will should reject, right? So here see it's rejected. So there is an error is coming, and you can see email and password reset into false. Now what we need to use this in the register screen, right? So we can just import our use selector. Here use selector, what I'm going to do, I am going to use my data const auth data. Now what I'm going to do, here just use selector state, what is the reducer which we are storing all the value, auth reducer, right? Auth reducer state dot auth reducer. Now we can just print the value console dot log auth data. Now we can just remove the previous console for email and password because it is working already perfectly. Now we can just console these values whatever we are getting. Let's refresh the function once more. Go to the register screen. I'm just typing a password test@gmail.com. Password we can just type. Then what we can do, we can just type register. Okay, now after a moment you can see the values is coming on register screen, right? So here you can see auth data is coming on the console. if I just reduce, you can see Auth true is coming, full loading also it's getting false, right? Now what I'm going to do here, I'm just adding an activity indicator. So if Auth data loading is true, Auth data loading is true, then we should show an activity indicator. We can just type activity indicator and just have a color of black, size of large. Okay, now we can just import this activity indicator. Yes, it's already imported. We can, if you need a ternary operation, we can have a operational chaining for all data. Now we can just refresh this once more. Go to the register. I'm just typing regr@gmail.com. Password what I'm just typing here. Now if I just click here you can see it's loading. After registration successful, it's entered the value. Now if I just check into my reducer, all the value is stored perfectly. Registration right now using the method create user with email and password, right? Now the next thing is we are going to sign in with email and password. For that one, what I am going to do, inside Auth reducer, same thing I'm just copy pasting here. I'm just going to create Auth register. Instead of register, just I am typing login. Here what I'm going to do, change into login account. Now instead of creating, what we are going to do, we are going to call the sign in method, sign in with email and password. Okay, then what we are going to do, we are just returning this method. Also we can just check out if there it is returning is Firebase React Native, it is returning the value. Yes, we can just check out the documentation. Here is, and the documentation is coming. You can just accept. You can just check out the method here. Right, it does not give me a callback for user had to fetch the detail again using the same method current user. Okay, so for now what I am going to do, using the same method I am returning my user. Now I am going to dispatch this method in my login account. So import login account from reducer, Auth reducer. Now I need to dispatch this action on values, right? So here is the values is coming. Just I am going to call login method. Okay, login account, and I am values I am just passing, right? Now if you can just refresh the screen, let's see what is happening. I'm just going to refresh my screen. Okay, now what I'm going to do here, I'm just type one account, register test@gmail.com. Password I'm going to create pass. Okay, then if I just refresh, let's see what's happened. So account is rejected, is already an account which is existing. We can just have 4 here. So test rt4, we can just register account. So we can just go here, given password is invalid. Okay, we are trying login method, not register, pass 123. You can just type here, it is created, right? So this is an account where we have successful sign up. So we can just try to log in with this account, go back, and the email is testrt4@gmail.com, and the password pass 123. Okay, now if I just click register, if I just click on the login method, before that one we can just remove the console. Here I just click login, fulfill. So it's authenticated successfully and they return the value whatever we have returned previously, right? So what we need to add these cases also inside our reducer, right? So we can just copy this same method all once more, right? So we can just have login account, right? So login account pending, login account fulfilled, login account rejected. Fine. Now we can just check out whether it is a login and values are setting properly. If I just go here, now if I just click login, it fulfilled. Now I'm just checking inside Auth it is true and the email is correct, UOD ID is showing, right? Now what we need, if whenever it's login successful, we need to navigate into home screen. For that one, what I'm going to do, inside this navigation, I'm going to import use selector okay, from React Redux. Then here I'm just checking const auth data or auth data. We can just say auth data and use selector state dot here is the value app auth reducer, and I'm just checking one value which is very important for me. This is auth. Okay, if it is true, we have to navigate into our screen, right? So we can just auth data or auth status. Okay, now we can just supply initial screen, right? Here initial route name, previously it will be auth because by default it is auth. Now what we can do, if auth status is true, what we have to do, just go here, make it as home screen. Fine. Now let's see what's happened. If I just refresh, I'm going to register on my account. Here I'm just typing test 89 or @gmail.com, pass 123. Now if I just click register, so auth value is coming, there is something is missing. We can just console.log auth status. Okay, now here let's see what's happening. I'm going to register one more account, 7. Okay, now if I just click 7, it is coming, but navigation is not happening. Auth data in the register screen, it is coming. Yes, auth reducer, it is coming value, but the value here it is not printing, right? You can just check out. Yes, here is the value is not printing. Yes, we have to check auth reducer, right? We can just check auth status and reload it once more. Yes, auth status is coming here. Now we can just have this dot auth value here. Yes, it's reloaded successfully. So we can just check once more. The problem was we didn't reload the app once more. We can just try once more. You can just type rq@gmail.com and then password we can just have gmail.com. Now if I just type register, something is going wrong. Stored our initial value, or we have stored our login data into the reducer, right? Now we need to use in this reducer in our navigator. For that one, what I am going to do, I'm going to import use selector from React Redux. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to extract the data using selector. So we can just have auth data. So auth data we can use select using selector, right? State dot. So the data is stored in auth reducer, right? So we can just use auth reducer, right? So inside this navigator we have only considered about whether it's login to true or not, right? So for that one we have a flag auth, right? So this flag will return the value of whether it is login or true, right? So we can just have auth status here. So auth status. Now just console.log auth status. Now if I just run the project once more, we can just this auth is not defined. We can just check which auth reducer. It should be reducer, not reduce. So you can just console it and refresh it once more. Register the account. Here we can just have ghu@gmail.com and then we can have a password. We can just remember this name, GHJUK, register the account. Here you can see register account is registered. Right now auth status, you can see this value is coming true, right? So if it is true, what we can do, we can change the navigator into true, right? So we can just have, if auth status true, what we can do, we can make it home, otherwise we can just make it auth. Now just close this one. We can test it once more. Let's refresh. Just I am going to log in right now or register right now. jko@gmail.com with the password pass. Now if I just click register, so what's happened, we can just check auth status value. It is rejected, that's why it is not navigating, because there is some authentication error. We can just check 3 4. Now if I just click register, it is also rejected. You can just check what is the register. The given password is invalid. Yes, so password is invalid. We can just have pass 1 2 3. Now if I just click register, here you can see it is navigated into home screen, right? Now if I just remove this one again, if I just open once more, login screen is coming. Right now if I just go here, I'm just typing with a test 1@gmail.com, pass 1 2 3. Now if I just click login, so it's rejected. This does not have an account. We can just create test 12@gmail.com. Then we can have a password pass 1 2 3. Just create an account, pass 1 2 3. Now what I am going to do, I am just removing this one. Now if I just open, and again I am trying to log in, test 12@gmail.com, same password, pass 1 2 3. If I just click login, yes, it's login. So login and registration is working completely perfectly, right? So whenever it's login, it is redirected to the home stack. It's opening the home stack, right? Now the issue here, if I just close the application, if I just close the application and again open, right? So if I just close the application again, it's asking me to log in. That means the data is not persisting, or the data is not storing permanently on the application, right? Every time I open the application, if I log in successfully also, it is again ask me to log in. Right now just try here. Here you can see, just I'm registering an account, testrg@gmail.com. just I'm typing pass 1 2 3, click register. Okay, see, it's opened the application. So it's created also a Firebase account. If you can just check Firebase whether that account is created, go to the Firebase account or Firebase console. Here you can see, go to the console. So we have project sample auth. So inside authentication, we can just check, yes, here you can see it is created, right? So testrg@gmail.com is created. But the problem is, if I just close it and open it once again, here you can see it again asks me to log in. That means we are not persisting the data. So this is the usage of Redux Persist. So Redux Persist, what will do, it will persist the data which is already available in the Redux. Now we are going to jump into the Redux Persist integration.